is the relationship between land and people, and in particular, Indigenous peoples' continued presence on the land being acknowledged today. So today, I respectfully acknowledge that I am located on the unceded traditional ancestral lands of the Coast Salish peoples, including the territories of the Katsi, Kwantlen, Coquitlam, Musqueam, and Cookite First Nations. We at SIETAR BC are working to extend our organization to SIETAR Canada, a truly national coalition and collaboration of interculturalists like yourselves across all the territories and provinces of this great nation. SIETAR BC is grateful for the opportunity to join with SIETAR Europa and SIETAR Switzerland in supporting today's webinar. I'm very excited to be here. With that, I would like to hand it over to Dr. Ruppert. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thanks for the introduction. Thanks for the invitation, the organization, SIETAR Europe and SIETAR BC. I'm really happy to be here. It's fantastic that we have more than 50 people there. That's more than in all the previous webinars. That's great. And as you will see, I'm very passionate about talking about artificial intelligence. And the purpose of this webinar is really to inspire you, to show you what's possible, which of these AI applications might have an impact also on interculturalists, no matter if you're intercultural teachers, trainers, coaches, whatever you do. I think we are all in a working in a similar area, and of course AI will change the way we work if we want it or not. And I would like to show you some use cases. Of course it's very condensed, so I will talk for about 1 hour. After this I have unlimited time for discussion, so as long as you have questions or as long as you want to discuss, I will be here. So I can stay until midnight if you like to discuss. And of course, for those of you who come to Lille, to the SIETAR Europe Congress, there will also be a session on artificial intelligence and bias and stereotypes, a topic we will also touch with a few slides today. And of course, I would also love to continue the discussion then in Lille. I always have to check if there are people I have to let in, because now I'm the host. Okay, so I hope I don't forget anyone. So there are more people coming. When I start and as I said, this is meant to be an inspiration. It's a lot of stuff. I always bring too much stuff. It might be overwhelming for some of you, which is part of the concept. And I strongly believe that it's important to, first of all, approach AI with a positive mindset, with curiosity. Not so much focus like we Germans love to do on the negative side and the risk and everything, because I think first of all we have to gain competence about these tools, and the only way to gain competence is to try it out. And once you try it out and once you understand what's possible with a very limited knowledge about AI, then you immediately start thinking about the scary things. The first time I cloned my voice and I heard myself speaking in a different language, I called my parents, and I said, please, if someone is calling you with my voice, it might not be me. So please be open for the inspiration, and then let's have all kinds of critical discussions, whatever you want to have. And I'm always watching a little bit on the participation list because I have to let people in. And with this, I would like to start my presentation. So now you should see it. And my presentation is always titled AI is now, because for me it's important to make this clear from the very beginning. All the stuff I'm showing you, it's available now. People are using this now. It's not stuff which is available in 3 to 5 years. It's already there, and it's there for a very low cost. So the only tools I'm paying for is ChatGPT Premium, highly recommended, which costs like $24, and Midjourney for $8. And that's all I'm paying for. The whole rest I did here for this presentation is all for free. So this is not the barrier to enter the world of AI is very, very low.
Biciclette per Leonardo Bennett.
La track quella...
Io sì, là.
Was this I didn't quite get it. Was this a question or? So there was one question in the chat about the cost. This is per month, so these were monthly costs.
No, I think it wasn't a question. Go ahead, Dr. Stephan.
And the last disclaimer before we start into this roller coaster, all the images you see in my whole presentation, they are all done with AI. Yeah, so this is already one of the use cases of AI, that in the future, of course, you can generate all kinds of images. This image is AI and the other images you see are too. And I would like to start with the first very simple use case. And this is an introduction actually to this webinar. So this is a younger version of me, which I created with AI. And the introduction, which I'm speaking now, is also created with AI, of course.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. Tonight, we're diving into an intriguing discussion on the ever-evolving role of artificial intelligence in the professional sphere, specifically focusing on trainers, coaches, and teachers. As AI becomes a staple in our daily tasks, it's crucial to understand its mechanics, collaboration methods, and its potential to revolutionize our work environment in the near future. We'll explore vital aspects of AI, including its functionality, remarkable use cases, and innovative tools beyond ChatGPT. This 60-minute presentation aims to answer all these questions, followed by an interactive session for your queries and further discussion.
So this was one very, very simple use case. I will show you more complicated use cases, but creating such an intro is super, super simple. So what I did, I just opened ChatGPT. I said I need a 20-second introduction for the following webinar in the style of a news anchor. Then I just posted the link to the announcement for the presentation. Actually, this was for a similar one I did 2 weeks ago. So I didn't explain ChatGPT anything. I just said, here's the website, check the website and find out what this webinar is about. Then ChatGPT produced a text for an introduction. And then I switched to a second tool, 11 Labs, which is currently the best text-to-speech tool in the market by far. I just copied the text. I think I deleted one sentence. That's the only change I made. I selected a speaker. The speaker here is, where is he? Daniel. So I selected Daniel as a speaker and then I clicked on generate. That's it. Yeah, very, very simple workflow. And the fantastic thing is if you use 11 Labs and you sign in, you get 10 minutes per month for free. Yeah, and I never paid any euro for this because I'm always on this free account. So 11 Labs is really, that's the first tool recommendation. And then I would like to show you some photos. And I will tell you after this why I show these photos. So these photos are for my last trekking tour in Asia. Yeah, so I did a fantastic trekking tour through Asia. So we started in Bhaktapur, close to Kathmandu, and visited the temples. Then we went to the K1 base camp where we started our hike. During the hike, we saw fantastic landscapes. We had the pleasure to see some red pandas, which are very, very rare, but I got them here on the photo, which is really fantastic. We climbed some stupas and did these breathtaking photos with a selfie stick from these stupas. And then finally, we reached the summit of the K1. And here you see me with my red Stephan jacket standing proudly on the K1. Yeah, isn't that fantastic? And of course, I mean, you can imagine already as we are here in an AI seminar, none of this ever happened. Nothing. Yeah, I have to be into some of these places actually, but these are not photos from my trips. So it's very easy. Yeah, and I mean, I'm not a professor for artificial intelligence. It's very, very easy for low cost to produce these photos and fake your whole vacation or to fake whatever you want. Yeah, and I showed one of these photos, the one with the Hamburg cap. I showed it to my mom on Christmas on my phone, and my mom didn't realize that this is not me. Yeah, and I would guess she's an expert. Yeah, and of course, other people also use it. These are some photos which were posted by the BBC some weeks ago. Donald Trump with people from the Black community, and normally, I mean, these fake photos are used to discredit politicians. In this case, it was used by Trump supporters to show how close he is to the Black community. And when BBC contacted them and confronted them that these are all fake photos, and actually it's very bad fakes. I mean, if you go a little bit closer, you see how bad these fakes are. They didn't even care. They said, yeah, we know it's fake photos. We don't care. But the message is important and we don't even care about fake photos. This is what happens today. And I mean, we don't have time for a long introduction round, but what I would like to ask you is maybe to answer 3 questions in the chat so that we get a kind of idea about your knowledge about AI. So my question would be, who of you has tried ChatGPT already? Who has a premium account? And who has already created images with AI? Because this will also be a topic. And while we are waiting for the answers, I could, of course, also introduce myself. So I'm an intercultural trainer from Germany. The countries I know most are, of course, Germany, but also Asia and China. I work as a lecturer for intercultural communication. And I started to look into these AI applications very early. Then SIETAR Germany asked me to give a presentation because they were interested, and from this whole thing took off, and now everybody is asking me about AI applications, and yeah, that's fantastic for me because it gives me an opportunity to talk something I'm really passionate about. Okay, so very mixed. Some of them have absolutely no experience. Some of you tried ChatGPT. A few of you tried also image generation. And there are even some people who didn't try anything. So for you, it might be a little bit overwhelming today. But anyway, okay, so very mixed group. Fantastic. Good. So let's look into artificial intelligence. First of all, what is this all about and why are we talking about it? There are a few remarks I would like to make before we then look into concrete use cases. And as I said, I like to approach all these AI tools with an open and curious mindset, because I think, first of all, you have to try it out in order to understand it. So 2 things I would like to include is, the first is AI makes mistakes. Everybody is complaining about the mistakes, about hallucinations, and that's absolutely fair. But AI is improving at breakneck speed. And in order to illustrate the speed of development of AI, I want to show you some photos. So these are photos which were all done with Midjourney. Midjourney is the leading image generating tool, especially for realistic images. And the prompt I used is an extreme close-up photo of a smart 30-year-old German businessman with a certain camera. But it's not about the prompt. It works with every prompt. And first of all, I created the image with the first version of Midjourney, Midjourney 1. This was released in July 2022. So less than 2 years ago. And that's how the image looked like. And at that time, this was a revolution. Everybody was excited because people said, wow, for the first time, an AI is able to translate a text prompt into an image which relates to the text prompt. That was a revolution. Today we laugh about this image, but 2 years ago, this was really fantastic. But of course, this is an image you cannot use for anything. You would not use it for your presentation or your website. It's more or less useless, but this was a big step. Then Midjourney 2 looked like that. Midjourney 3 looked like that. Not a big improvement. And then came Midjourney 4. This is Midjourney 4. This is Midjourney 5. This is Midjourney 5.1. This is Midjourney 5.2. And this is the same prompt with Midjourney 6, which was just released before Christmas. And this shows you how fast these AI tools improve. And if you see anything here in my presentation, which is not yet perfect, and especially on the video generation part, this is far from perfect. You can expect that in a few weeks, in a few months, it will be perfect. So don't look too much on the mistakes. Look more on the potential. And of course, what you also see in these images is the bias of Midjourney. If I say I want to have a 30-year-old smart German business manager, of course they are all white. And that's something we will discuss, we will touch later a little bit, because these systems are biased, and that's something you should also know. And the second remark I always get here is, yeah, but it's dangerous. AI is dangerous. And yes, AI is also dangerous, but I think in order to understand it and to manage these dangers and to talk about it, first you have to understand how it works. Because there are a lot of scientific studies about AI, and what these scientific studies found out is that consultants, Boston Consulting consultants who use AI finish their jobs 12%, they can do 12% more tasks and they finish their tasks 25% faster. So it's a huge efficiency gain. And the same study showed that the quality of results is 40% higher. So the gain on quality is even bigger than the gain you have on speed. Yeah, and that's really surprising because I expected AI makes me faster, but it makes you better. People also found out that AI-generated texts are easier to read, more appealing, and are more personal. AI is more creative than the average human, and AI responses are more empathic than those from human doctors. So we all have to ask ourselves, what is really our point of difference? And I want to believe that there is a point of difference, of course. I don't want to substitute people with AI, but we really have to give it a second thought, because all the creatives in the marketing agencies, they said AI can never be creative. And now they're all looking for new jobs. Yeah. So don't jump to conclusions too fast and say, I can do things which AI can never do. AI can do fantastic things if you get it right. There's still people joining. Fantastic. The most important takeaway from this whole presentation, if you forget everything else, the most important thing is ChatGPT is not a search engine. That's my mantra. Yeah. In every presentation, I repeat it. It's not a search engine. It's not a truth machine. ChatGPT doesn't even know what the truth is. Yeah, it's a category which is completely unknown to ChatGPT. So please don't use ChatGPT as a search engine. And Sam Altman said, and of course that's not the real Sam Altman, he said, I think when people make a big mistake when they think of these models as a database, it will work sort of, but it's the world's most expensive, slowest, and least accurate database. Don't use it for that. He said why it's worth spending all this money and effort is that it's a reasoning engine. So use it as a reasoning engine, don't use it as a search engine. Because what ChatGPT and all the other language models basically do, they just try to produce a reasonable continuation of the text they got. Yeah. So what they do is they are guessing the next word in a way which I cannot understand. Yeah, it goes beyond my imagination, but that's what they do. They guess the next word. Ethan Mollick, highly recommended. Get his newsletter and follow him on LinkedIn. He said large language models are essentially just a really fancy autocomplete. Yeah? And other people said ChatGPT only gives correct answers by chance. So of course you will get some correct answers. Yeah, if you ask how is our solar system working, you will get a correct answer. Yeah, but this is rather by chance, and this is not a feature of ChatGPT. And this is true for all the other large language models too. Don't use it as a search engine. If you want to use an AI-powered search engine, use Perplexity. Perplexity works completely different. Perplexity is a search engine. It gives you a reliable result. It gives you the quotes. And then it summarizes the results with AI. That's a completely different thing. Yeah, and I use Perplexity a lot. I don't use Google anymore. It's free. It was just started in less than 2 years ago, which is amazing. They have less than 40 employees. So here in Perplexity, you can ask questions. You have different focus options for different kinds of queries. You can attach files if you want. You have a pro version, which is has even more depth, and you have 5 pro searches every 4 hours for free. I think that's enough for most of us. You have all your links. You can share links. You can share your search results, and you can even buy a pro version for $20 per month, which I think is unnecessary. Yeah, and there is a smartphone app, which is also fantastic. I'm just looking in the chat. Okay, people already answered the question. That's great. If you answer the questions which I don't see, that's fantastic. So I talked about Midjourney, I talked about Perplexity. And you easily find it. If you look for Perplexity AI, you will find it. And a second search engine, if you're looking more for scientific stuff, is Consensus. Works in a very similar way, but with scientific papers. And for this, there is even a custom GPT within ChatGPT. So you can use this, and then you can use the result within ChatGPT to write a blog post or an article or book or whatever you want to do with it. And I think that's always fantastic. If you use something in ChatGPT, you can use the result for any kind of next step you want. So I told you ChatGPT is not a search engine. ChatGPT is, in my eyes, and I like this analogy, it's your personal freelancer. Yeah, because there are a lot of similarities between ChatGPT and freelancers. The results are always different. Yeah, when I do the same prompt 2 times, I will get a different result. You get a different result than I get. It needs a precise briefing and context. Without briefing, it produces random results. It will make mistakes like every freelancer. There will be misunderstandings. And in many cases, you have to rebrief and clarify. And this is also a point. A lot of people give up. They prompt something, they get a result they don't like, and then they give up. That's a huge mistake. You can rebrief. You can talk to ChatGPT. You can say, hey, I didn't like your first draft. Please change it. Make it more funny. Make it more scientific. Do this, do that. Talk to ChatGPT. Work with ChatGPT. And in the end, of course, it's your decision when and how you use it. Yeah, there are a lot of fantastic use cases which I teach in my trainings, but I don't use them because for my way of working, for example, I don't write emails with ChatGPT because for my workflow, for my way of working, it doesn't work. Others told me this is a fantastic application for them. And the great thing is it's not only one freelancer, it's thousands, it's millions of freelancers you have with a mouse click. You just have to tell ChatGPT who it is. Yeah, that's the only secret. And I think the most important or the applications with the highest potential is inspiration. Whenever you want to get an inspiration, ChatGPT is fantastic. Content generation, every kind of text you want to generate is great. Personalization, and I think this is something which is going to happen also in our industry. Trainings, offers, images, everything will be personalized to your target group, to their industry, to their company. And if you're not able to do this, you will somehow fall behind. And then, of course, automation, and I will show you also some examples how you can automate workflows and really gain efficiency. Let's start to look at writing tools. And as a disclaimer, whatever you do with ChatGPT or the other writings tool, never give confidential information to a bot. Never, ever. Yeah. No customer data, no private, no personal data. Never do this. I will talk a lot about ChatGPT, but of course there are also other chatbots. There is Mistral, which is really fantastic. There's a free version. It's a French chatbot. They call it Le Chat, which I really love. So try out Mistral. Very often now I do my prompts in parallel with ChatGPT and Mistral is for free. And in some applications, it's even better than ChatGPT, which is great. And the other one, which is still quite new, is Pi. Pi has a smartphone app. You can talk to Pi, and Pi is the first emotionally intelligent AI. And it has a voice function. And if you talk to Pi, it's really amazing. After 2-3 minutes, you forget that you are talking to a machine. Yeah, try it out and observe what it does to you. This is really weird, the way Pi talks to you, and the quality is fantastic. And then there's Gemini from Google, there's Claude by Anthropic, there's Bing Chat, so there are different options. But in my eyes, ChatGPT is the most versatile chatbot, at least in the premium version, which I would highly recommend. So this is for me like the Swiss Army knife of large language models, and that's why I'm talking mainly here about ChatGPT. So what can you do with ChatGPT? The simplest application is you can summarize all kinds of documents. No matter if the document is in the internet or if it's on your computer. Here it's an example. It's a German document, 48 pages. With a mouse click, you get a summary from ChatGPT. You have it in 10 bullet points. You can get a longer or shorter summary, whatever you had. So it's no problem for ChatGPT to digest 48 pages of a German document and give you a summary in English. Yeah, because ChatGPT doesn't care about the language. Yeah, if you say you want it in French, in Spanish, in Dutch, you can get everything. And then if you say 0.7, that looks interesting for me, I want to understand more about this, you just tell ChatGPT, and ChatGPT will then tell you more about 0.7. So you can really talk to your document. You can have a dialogue with your document, ask questions about certain things, and ChatGPT will help you, so you don't have to read the whole 48 pages. You can also do some funny things. You can also upload a document and say, give me a word cloud. Yeah, very interesting for presentations, for social media posts. Sometimes it's interesting to have a word cloud in order to visualize the content in a different form. Also very easy. And then, of course, you cannot only do it with documents, you can do it in the same way with videos. So you can transcribe videos. So here's a video, Gary Thomas, tips for hybrid trainings. I used AccessLink, which is a custom GPT, and within 10 seconds, it transcribed the whole video for me. And again, the advantage is once you have the transcript in ChatGPT, you can work with it. Now you can say, hey, make a blog post, make a social media post, an email, an article, whatever out of this text. So video transcription is super easy. There are different tools. Of course, it also works with longer videos. And then you can do social media posts with ChatGPT. And a lot of people complain because they said, yeah, but this sounds also ChatGPT and it's only blah, blah. And of course, if you do it wrong, yeah, you get something like this. Yeah, you get something like, hey, LinkedIn community, dive into the spellbinding world of high context communication, unravel the tapestry. High context communication stands at the behemoth in today's global dialogue, weaving a spellbinding tapestry of subtle cues. Yeah, this sounds a lot like written by ChatGPT. Yeah, so you have to train ChatGPT to use your voice, your language, your tone, your expressions. Yeah, and then you get high quality content, which really is your format and your tone of voice. And the easiest way, the first step I would always do is I would give ChatGPT a list of terms it should avoid. Yeah, this is my list. So these are the typical words. If you see these words in any LinkedIn post, you know it's written by ChatGPT. Yeah, so train ChatGPT, tell ChatGPT which phrases not to use. This is my personal list. And then it can produce really high quality content. And of course, you can also use news articles. That's what I do a lot. So here's a news article about the year of the dragon in China and that they are expecting a baby boom. It's a German article. I asked ChatGPT to summarize it in English. So you have access, if you don't speak German, you have access to this article, you get a summary, and then you can ask ChatGPT, please write a LinkedIn post. And this is a LinkedIn post, which is my format, my tone of voice, my style. Yeah. And what you can also do, as you see here, you can also then add some personal information. So you don't have to stay just with the article and summarize the article. So I just told ChatGPT, I have a friend whose name is Chang, and he and his wife are just waiting for their little dragon baby. Yeah. So if you want to make it personal, you can make it as personal as you want. Yeah. If ChatGPT only produces blah, blah LinkedIn post, it's due to the input. Yeah. And then, because ChatGPT Plus also creates images, you can also ask ChatGPT to create an image for your post. In this case, it worked very well. So you get this cute image of the couple with the baby clothes, and then you're ready to go. Yeah. So for my LinkedIn post, I would say I always make some changes. I never take the result one-to-one and just post it on LinkedIn, but it saves me hours of time every week, because it's much easier for me to start with something and then correct it and change it a little bit instead of really coming up with all this on my own. And in order to make it even more efficient, you have the opportunity now in ChatGPT to create your own chatbots. They are called custom GPTs. So you can create very, very easily your own chatbots. So I have my chatbot, for example, for LinkedIn posts. I have it on my phone. So I just take my phone and then I say, hey, yesterday evening, I had a fantastic webinar for SIETAR Europe about artificial intelligence. I got some really interesting questions. This was my answer, and so on and so forth. And then my personal bot writes a LinkedIn post in my tone, in my voice for me. Yeah, big time saver. I have my idea organizer. So whenever I have ideas about something and these ideas are somehow roller coasting in my brain and I cannot bring them on paper, I use my idea organizer. This is an absolute game changer for people who are neurodivergent. Yeah, so people with ADHD, they told me this is changing their life. Yeah, because they have the challenge that they have all these confusing ideas rotating in their brain and they cannot bring it in a structured way on paper. And with this idea organizer, ChatGPT does the job for you. Yeah, and yeah, people were really, I mean, they were amazed by this. I have my own illustrator to produce illustrations for my presentations, and I have a memo wizard, which is a personal GPT which writes meeting minutes. And this is one, if you have ChatGPT Plus, you can find it in the chat store, in the GPT store, and you can use it and try it. So what it does is, after a meeting, I have my notes. I take my notes, I talk to ChatGPT. I said, hey, my name is Stephan. I just had a meeting with a client, and then I say everything about the meeting I want to say. And ChatGPT then produces meeting minutes in a structured form with a mouse click. Yeah, so I trained my GPT to produce meeting minutes in this format. And again, this is saving a lot of time because in most of the cases after a meeting, I don't have the time to write structured meeting minutes. Yeah, so I always stay with my notes. And 3 days later, I don't know what these notes mean anymore. There are other GPTs. So the left ones are the ones I created. There are GPTs in the store, thousands, for analyzing PDFs. There is consensus for scientific search. I showed it already. There are GPTs for analyzing, summarizing, transcribing videos. There are GPTs who do mock job interviews with you. Yeah, so if you want to apply for a job, if you go in an interview, you can have interviews with ChatGPT before to get all the nasty questions and also the good answers. There are GPTs which describe images for you. If you have an image, a stock image, where you don't have the rights and you want to reproduce it, this GPT describes the image. Then you can copy the prompt into Midjourney and then you have your own image. You can have cartoon me. You see some cartooned versions of me here in the presentation. They were done with cartoon me. There are GPTs for writing press releases, and there are even GPTs to give you legal advice or medical advice. Thousands of GPTs available, all for free. So this is fascinating. And then you can use GPT, for example, to build hypotheses. So imagine you're a coach. Your client comes and tells you about his problem. So his problem is his boss doesn't trust him. He doesn't feel like he's part of the team. People treat him unfairly. Then he came with a fantastic idea and the boss interrupted him. The boss always gives him small and unimportant tasks. He feels rejected, all of this. And in the end, he says, I don't know if we can solve this in a coaching session or if maybe I should think about changing my job. So very typical situation in a coaching. And at a certain point of the coaching, most of the coaches build hypotheses about their client and his problem. Yeah, and you can ask ChatGPT to do this. So ChatGPT would tell you, hypothesis 1 is there's a lack of trust, and I would recommend enhanced visibility with your boss. Hypothesis 2 is there's a communication gap, so you should improve your communication skills. Hypothesis 3 is there's a skill gap, which should be addressed with certain training methods. Hypothesis 4 is about team dynamics, and we should work on this team dynamics. And hypothesis 5 is maybe there's a misalignment of expectations, and also here it proposes a possible intervention. Yeah, and of course, this is not meant to substitute coaches, but if you work as a coach, maybe you get 5, 10, 20 different hypotheses, and you might say, actually, I had 3 of them already myself. 3 others don't make sense. But if there's one hypothesis where you say, that's interesting, I didn't see it like that, it's already helpful. Yeah. So as an expert system to build hypothesis, I think it's fantastic. And then, very interesting for intercultural trainers, you can write case studies with ChatGPT. And next week, there will be a book available, ChatGPT and Global Higher Education. And I submitted a chapter about creating context-specific critical incidents. And in this chapter of the book, I explain how to write critical incidents with ChatGPT. We don't have the time here to show you really how to write complete critical incidents with ChatGPT, because that's an effort. You have to invest some hours and some effort to do this. But what I can show you is how you can modify and adapt case studies. This is a case study from a book I use often in my trainings. It's about when Porsche came up with the idea for the Cayenne, for the SUV. The American engineers came to Germany. They were super excited. They were fascinated. They said, wow, that's cool. We changed the world. And they wanted to get started. And then, very stereotypically, the German engineers asked all these detailed, nasty questions about feasibility and prices and whatever. And the Americans were disappointed. So, very stereotypical. Doesn't matter if you like it or not. And now imagine your next client is Ottobock. So not Porsche, but Ottobock. Ottobock is a company near Hamburg. I never worked for them. And they produce prostheses, ortheses, wheelchairs, exoskeletons. And now you tell ChatGPT, hey, please adapt this case study to my next client, to Ottobock. And suddenly ChatGPT produces a case study which is not about cars, it's about exoskeletons. The exoskeleton has a name, it's named Pathfinder. It's aimed at aiding workers in physically demanding environments. ChatGPT even knows that the American team of Ottobock is in Austin, Texas, and the German team in Duderstadt. And then the engineers come up with a holographic 3D models, and they say, this is going to redefine the limits of human capability. So you see, it's not only changing the names, it's changing really the setting of the case study while keeping the intercultural conflict. The conflict is still the same. The Americans are excited, they want to get started, and the Germans ask all these detailed questions. Yeah, and then the Germans asked about regulations. So this is, for me, a fantastic application to adapt case studies to different industries. And then you can even go one step further and say, hey, now I want the same case study written from the perspective of the Germans. Yeah, so you have 2 groups in your room. You give one group the perspective of the German engineers, and the other group gets the perspective of the American engineers. Yeah, and now you learn what Friedrich, the German engineer, a terrible name for a German engineer, what he thinks. Yeah, so Friedrich has concerns. They are worried. They ask themselves questions. How can we proceed without knowing the markets? It feels too vague for them. So you get their feelings, their perspective, their thinking. And with a mouse click, you can do the same for the American perspective. And then you can work with 2 different groups and show them 2 different perspectives of the same case study. Yeah. This is the American, the Americans come into the room, her heart racing with excitement, and so on and so forth. And then you can also create images if you like. So that's very easy to also equip this with images in ChatGPT. I will skip this because we're a little bit running out of time. And I want to come to images. What can you do with images? This is also ChatGPT. These are pictograms from the subway in Hamburg. And ChatGPT is absolutely able to understand these pictograms. There's no text in the image. There's no text. Just from the images, ChatGPT is able to understand what these pictograms mean. You can also use your flip charts. You can transcribe your flip charts. And the fantastic thing is ChatGPT doesn't only do character recognition, it tries to understand what it is. And if there's a word which it cannot decode, it will fill the gaps. Yeah, because it tries to somehow understand it. And I mean, you see, my handwriting is not perfect, but ChatGPT is able to do reasonable translation. As I said, you can also copy stock photos. So these are 2 stock photos I use in my training, and with the help of ChatGPT and Midjourney, I just created my copies, which are rights-free, of these stock photos, which I can use now in my trainings. And with this, I would like to come to image generation and the problem also of biases in AI. So this is the quality of images which Midjourney can create now. Yeah, so that's a Midjourney created image. Of course, this pink lizard doesn't exist. So this is the quality you get. And these are also some images which were created with the latest version of Midjourney. And I think it's impossible to differentiate this to real portrait photos. What's important to understand is also here, Midjourney is just guessing the next pixel. Midjourney doesn't understand what this is. It's guessing the next pixel in a way which is amazing. So it's not Photoshop. It doesn't take elements from different images and combine them. It's guessing the next pixel. Unbelievable. And this is the bias you get. So if you say, I want to have an image of a beautiful bride on her wedding day, that's what you get. Yeah, and of course, as interculturalists, I guess you're very sensitive, and you will realize, first of all, she's white and blonde, and she's wearing a white dress. Yeah, and if I do this with my students from all over the world, some of them raise their hands and say, sorry, in my country, brides on their wedding day, they don't wear a white dress. Yeah, but whatever you do, if you do it with DALL-E, if you do it with Midjourney, you get different images, but all of them are with white dresses. It's impossible to create a bride on her wedding day which is not wearing a white dress. But it's not limited to people. A lot of people think bias is only limited to people, but you also have something like the watch paradox. Yeah, if you try to create a watch which is showing 12 o'clock, it's almost impossible. What you get is always something like 10 past 10. All the watches you create with DALL-E and Midjourney, and you can try a lot of tricks. People really tried hard. It's super, super difficult. They all show 10 past 10. And the simple reason is that this is the training material. This is the training material of watches, and you see all the watches you will find on Google show 10 past 10, because some kind of marketing genius found out that, first of all, this angle looks very good, and it doesn't cover the logo and the brand name. Yeah, so that's why all the images of watches in the internet show 10 past 10, and ChatGPT and Midjourney is not able to produce anything else. This is what you get when you want a close-up of a pair of sneakers. Most of them are Nike sneakers. Yeah, because ChatGPT, Midjourney was obviously trained with Nike sneakers. So all of them are branded. And the question, of course, and we will go a little bit deeper in Lil, is why is AI biased? And there are 3 levels of bias. First of all, the data source. Yeah, this is very obvious. Of course, the training data make a big difference. And of course, a model like ChatGPT is trained with a bias on American data. I would also guess with white data, whatever white data is, but I guess you know what I mean. So of course, the training material is already biased. If you only put watches which show 10 past 10 into the training model, of course, it cannot produce anything else. So the first level is the data source. The second level is the algorithm. So the algorithm decides what it makes out of the data source, and this creates a second level of bias. And the problem is we don't know much about these algorithms. Even the people who own these models don't know much about the algorithms. And then some companies, and I show you examples from this, they even add another layer by adding filters after their algorithm. Because first of all, they want to avoid that people do dangerous stuff. Yeah. For example, on Midjourney, you cannot create images of naked teenagers or something like this. Yeah, nudity, these things are blocked. But some of them also try to create more diversity in their models by an additional filter, which is, I think, kind of scary. And then you have the human factor. Yeah, with your prompt, you create biases. And all of these models were trained by people at a certain step. Yeah, it's a myth that all these models train themselves. And it's in a certain step in the development, you always have humans And a tool like Midjourney, for example, you can also rate images. Yeah, and with every rating of images, you decide about the outcome of the next image. Yeah, and if a lot of let's say white male college students from the US do the rating, then of course women will look different than if, I don't know, women from the Philippines do the rating, then the beauty ideal will be a different beauty ideal. Yeah. And the second problem is, of course, generative AI is basically always looking in the rear view mirror. Yeah. So because ChatGPT and all the other tools, they are all trained with training data, and training data are, of course, from the past. They cannot be from today. So today we might have a certain understanding in our society about, let's say, diversity, racism, these topics. ChatGPT, Midjourney, they always show you what was the standard some years ago. Yeah, and this is something which is super hard to change. And as I mentioned, some of these tools have filters to create a certain diversity. So people had a good intention to say, let's make the world more diverse. So when you go into DALL-E in November last year and you said, I want an illustration of a nurse, nothing else, illustration of a nurse, that's what you get. Yeah, so DALL-E translated my prompt illustration of a nurse into a male nurse of African descent and a female nurse of Hispanic descent, which I somehow liked. On the other hand, of course, I asked myself, who's deciding this? Yeah, so maybe Sam Altman from OpenAI is a good guy and he takes good decisions, but I don't want Elon Musk to decide about this. I mean, Elon Musk has fascist anti-Semitic fantasies he's arguing on his platform. I don't want him to decide which kind of diversity I see. Yeah, so I think this is scary. And what's even more scary is I did the same prompt some weeks ago in February. And obviously they deactivated their filter, because now I get the typical stereotype white women as nurses. So DALL-E has a filter in their tool. They remove the filter, they activate the filter without notifying me, and I get completely different results. And some of you might have seen that Gemini, the Google chatbot, the image generator, also did this. They also wanted to create a certain diversity, and this is what happened. Yeah, so they created a level of diversity so that suddenly the founding fathers of America were indigenous people, black, seems like Asian descent, Vikings were black, the Pope was black, the Pope was a woman, and when they did 1943 German soldiers, suddenly even they were black or Asian descent or whatever. And they deactivated this after 2 days because they realized this goes too far. Yeah? This doesn't make any sense. It's showing us a reality which doesn't exist. So this is just to show you a little bit how difficult it is to create more diversity and less bias, because if you do it wrong, you get things like that. And for me, the big question is always, who's deciding? Yeah, is this someone who has the same values as I have, or does this person have different values? But you can, of course, use Midjourney also to create diversity. This is what I use in my trainings, a German business manager. If you just prompt it like that, that's what you get. Yeah, maximum bias, maximum stereotype. But of course, with a slight adjustment of prompts, you can create diversity, and you can show training participants and students how diverse Germany is and how business managers in Germany can look like. So you can use AI also to create your diversity, which you don't find in stock photos. This is something I use with my students when we talk about sinus milieus. I show them images of DJs from different countries, and I show them images of German boys in different professions, and then we have a discussion which of these groups have more in common. Yeah, so you can also use AI to trigger a discussion, and I would really like to motivate everybody who's teaching at universities, talk about AI. Yeah, we cannot prepare students for the business life without talking about AI. That's ridiculous. Yeah, so talk about AI, make it a topic, reflect on this. You can create illustrations in a similar style. with Midjourney or ChatGPT. I skipped this. And of course, you can also create different versions of yourself. Yeah, so these are all versions of myself. I showed you some already in the beginning. And of course, it's kind of scary. I mean, I can be everyone I want. Yeah, with a mouse click, very easy. And just imagine this last one. Yeah, just imagine in the future, in advertising, all the people look like you. Yeah, of course I would buy Coca-Cola from him because I like him. He's a great guy. Yeah, he looks like me. Of course I would buy everything from him. I would trust him. Yeah, so just imagine if this is done in real time in the future and all the people in advertising look like you or look like your friends or look like your community. Yeah, and this is what's possible today with Photoshop. So different tool now, this is Photoshop, and this is a demo of what's possible with the latest version of Photoshop today. So don't trust anything you see. Yeah, it might be fake. And there was a funny example. The NBA Pacers used it just 2 weeks ago to make their opponents, the fans of the other team, cry. Yeah, so they use this filter, and it's a real-time filter. You see it in the video. People see this on the screen, how they cry. Isn't this amazing? I mean, it's in real time. All these people are crying. And now you see the last lady, she's seeing it, and then you see how she really looks. So actually she's laughing. So she's crying, and now she takes the iPhone, and then you see actually, I mean, she's laughing. Yeah, and this is happening in real time. This is not a video with post-production. This is real time. People could see it on the big screen. Amazing. If you're looking for stock photos, AI-generated stock photos, there's a free internet page, Lumi AI. Which is fantastic. So there you can get curated AI stock photos for free. If we look at audio generations, I will use a few minutes more. I hope you stay in the call. I want to give you one example of the latest tool, which is really fantastic and might also be useful for you. It's Udio. What is it called? Udio. Yeah, Udio, which is for sound generation, and it took me literally 1 minute to create this sound.
Oh, AI, you're my gleaming light. Transform the ways we teach so right. With your touch, we craft each flight. Innovation in our sight. You weave the path so fine and bright. Tailored lessons fit just right. AI in you. Our skills ignite our training dreams. You redefine tonight.
Yeah, so I have absolutely no clue about music, zero. Yeah, and I could create this within 1 minute. Yeah, you can just imagine people who are a little bit more skilled than I am and spend a little bit time of fine-tuning, and of course the image is also AI generated. So that's the latest tool. You can create your own music. The vocals were created with ChatGPT, and then I just copied it into Udio. And of course you can also use it in your trainings for useful stuff. This is again 11 labs, and I asked 11 labs just to read my case studies. The media connection is not working, sorry. So trust me, I don't want to search it now. So you can use 11 labs to read.
Meneer Hansen is door een Duitse fabrikant van huishoudelijke schoonmaakmiddelen naar China gestuurd. Het doel is om de overdracht van nieuwe recepten van laboratoriumschaal naar productieschaal te optimaliseren. In het hoofdkantoor in Berlijn geloven ze dat de
And you can also translate your voice in different languages. So it's obviously my voice. I don't speak Dutch. I just uploaded the German case study and asked it to translate this in Dutch. Yeah, and it makes sense. I don't know how many of you speak Dutch, but it makes sense, and it's my voice. 11 Labs cloned my voice for free. I didn't even pay for this. Yeah, and another example is here. I want to show you a short video of an interview I did with Gary Thomas. The interview is in German, but I guess you get the point why I show it to you. So this is a video interview I did with Gary Thomas.
Und wir haben hier mit Stephan Ruppert zusammengearbeitet, um unser Wissen über beide Elemente mit seinem erstaunlichen Wissen über KI zu kombinieren und zu denken, wie können wir machen? Lieferung und Gestaltung von Training noch effizienter, noch effektiver. Stephan, gib uns bitte einige Einblicke, wie das funktioniert.
Danke, Gary. Ich liebe es, KI in der Trainingsgestaltung zu verwenden, weil du das tun kannst. Why am I showing this to you? The simple reason is I never talked to Gary in German. We did the interview in English. There is no German version of this interview. So I took the English version of the interview, which I will show you in a second. I uploaded into 11 Labs. I said, do the dubbing process. There are 2 speakers. Please clone their voices and translate it into German, and that's what we got. Yeah, so you can translate your videos in any language you want with your voice. And this is really the scary part. And for those who don't know Gary, I just show you the first sentences of the English interview.
Training is like flying a plane. You have 2 turbines. One is training delivery and one is training design. And we have pooled with Stephan Ruppert here to part.
So you realize Gary's voice in German is exactly his voice. That's how he speaks German. Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Hallo, liebe Freunde der generativen AI.
I will skip a few points and show you this as the last video application, I think. So this is what is possible today with avatars. And this is the point where I would say this is far from perfect. It's amazing, but it's not perfect. I know that training agencies are already working with pre-produced videos with avatars. I think it's a wrong way. But this is what is possible with avatars today.
Welcome to our journey into generative AI, where innovation meets creativity. Explore how artificial intelligence is reshaping industries and understand its capabilities and boundaries. Welcome to...
So you see, I mean, it's somehow amazing, but it's not good enough, I think. And I would never do it because I want to interact with people as a human and not as a robot. And the last thing I want to show you, and this is really the outlook on something which is really scary, it's Hume. Hume does emotion detection. So it uses your voice, the pattern of your voice, the frequency, the modulation, your facial expressions and everything. And then it analyzes your emotions. Yeah. And they have different tools for different applications. And just imagine in the future, you give a training, being it online or offline, and someone is monitoring your training participants and monitors, are they still listening? Are they happy? Are they dissatisfied or whatever? And you get an information and can react to this. I think this is fantastic and super scary at the same time. I wouldn't want this. But it's possible. It works. You can use it in a sales call. Yeah, just imagine you have a sales call and you get an emotion curve of your counterpart, and you know exactly how everything works. Of course, they also use it for useful stuff, for very early Parkinson's screening. Yeah, just imagine after our call, everybody gets a short notice to say, hey, we realized you have very first signs of Parkinson. Better see your doctor. I don't know if I want this, but it's possible. Depression, yeah, it could be, you could detect first signs of depression and give people a notification that people might seek help, driver drowsiness. So as with all these AI applications, that it's on the one hand, it's fascinating and there's a huge potential. On the other hand, and I think these are applications which will also be banned, at least in Europe, by the AI Act. And last but not least, because before we have a lot of time for your questions, of course, there is a pitch. Nothing comes for free. So this was the roller coaster into AI, and now the big question is, how can you learn to use it? And what I do, I said it in the beginning, of course, I do trainings. So I give trainings. Typically, my trainings are 8-hour trainings, either on one day or split into 2 days. They are about text tools, about a lot of these things we saw. They are about image tools, minimum 3, maximum 10 participants. These are the latest training days. So there's a German training on the 3rd of May. For the Germans here, you can still join on the 3rd of May. There's a special offer in collaboration with SIETAR France on the 28th of May. And for SIETAR members, it's just €200. So that's a special discount. Then I have 2 English trainings, and I have a special program together with the Academy for Diversity and Inclusion, where you can learn how to program your own GPT. It's 2 times 2 hours. I think it will cost €250. If you are interested in these trainings, you can either visit my website where you find more information, also some more case studies. You can send me an email. I think you can all find me on LinkedIn. I will post my LinkedIn link in a second. I would be super happy if you would connect with me on LinkedIn and continue the discussion, ask your question, or sign in for training or whatever you do. And with this, I would take a breath and ask for your questions and start the discussions. I didn't look into the chat, I have to say. Yeah, I can also, but I see some people already answered questions. Yeah, so there's a question, speech to text. I would use now I forgot the name. You find it in a second. Speech to text. There's a fantastic tool. It's for free. It's based on OpenAI technology. I just have to search it. I forgot the name now, but I will post it in the chat. The question, if video can be transcribed into Chinese or Arab, I cannot answer. I think it's possible, but I cannot judge the quality because I speak neither Chinese nor Arab. It's definitely possible, but the quality, I can only judge the quality in German and English. That's and a little bit of Dutch. Okay, people complain that they get a lot of AI generated stuff. Of course, that's the negative side, that we are flooded now with content which is created by AI. What would you recommend for speech to text? Again, same question. I will find it in a second and post it. Yeah, if SIETAR Japan is interested, of course. I mean, I did these presentations already for SIETAR Germany, SIETAR Poland, SIETAR Netherlands, SIETAR USA, now SIETAR Europe, SIETAR Canada, in 2 weeks for SIETAR Switzerland. So I'm very happy to train the whole worldwide SIETAR community. And can the video and text be also the same? I had these questions already. Sorry, I'm in the same question. Yeah. So I would stop my presentation and yeah, open the discussion, whatever you want to ask or discuss, or also critical remarks. I mean, there are tons of critical remarks about AI. Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yes, I think thank you so much, Dr. Stephan Ruppert. I think you enlightened many different points about AI and our intercultural work. Sure, you talked about AI understanding and expectation about cultural sensitivity, DS and AI real-world application, future trends, collaboration and innovation, skill development, impact on intercultural training and audience engagement. You can right now open your mic and ask your question. You can speak up. Before I just want to ask to Stephan Ruppert question about ethical consideration. I know you already gave us an insightful about that, but I want to ask you more deeper. What ethical consideration should be taken into account when integrating AI into intercultural training and leadership program?
I mean, the obvious point I already mentioned is bias and stereotypes. Because I mean, a lot of you know weird concepts, so a lot of the training material is from Western countries. So if you ask, for example, for the interpretation of an intercultural case, you will most probably get culture dimensions, Hofstede, Meyer, Trompenas, whatever, which is great. I use it in my trainings, but which is a very, very limited perspective. So this is one big risk I see. Of course, the images are biased and stereotypes, and I showed you some images, but the same is true for texts. Yeah, in text it's just not so obvious to see, but the texts are as biased as the images are. But as I said, if you understand how to do it, I mean, we have a working group in SIETAR Germany, and one of the things we want to try is also think about, can we make other perspectives, non-weird perspectives on intercultural communication accessible for people? Yeah, because there are a lot of perspectives I personally would like to implement in my trainings. I just don't have the time to read all this stuff. Yeah, and maybe ChatGPT is a fantastic way of saying, hey, even if I don't read all these books, I can still somehow get something to implement this these perspectives. And I see Edwin is also still in the call. We are also trying to program a GPT for the Topoi model, yeah, which is a model which doesn't work with culture dimensions. Different idea, I guess. Some of you or most of you know the model, and we work with our working group and Edwin and Arjen to try to program such a GPT, which could be very useful. But it always needs human oversight, I'm absolutely sure. Yeah, and I think this is a big risk. Of course, if you ask me, can you do an intercultural training about Ghana? Yeah, a country I have absolutely zero knowledge about. I could set up a training about Ghana in an hour. Yeah, and it would make sense to the participants. Yeah, but of course it's super dangerous because I don't know the country, I don't know the culture, I don't know anything about these people. So these are, I think, the risks that people who are non-experts use this tool to pretend they're experts. And that's also something the Boston Consulting study showed, that people tend to fall asleep at the wheel. The more you use AI, the less you control the results. And then they gave them tasks where they knew that AI makes mistakes. There are certain tasks where AI is not good at. And then the consultants delivered worse results than without AI, because they just took the results, they relied on the results, and they didn't check it. Yeah. So I think it's fantastic if an expert uses these tools to get different perspectives. But of course, designing a training program for something you don't know anything about, or I mean, I could also do a coaching session, yeah, with the help of AI, without having the expertise. Does this answer your question more?
Yeah.
I don't have a final answer. I mean, there are so many ethical questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stephan. Right now, you can ask a question if you want.
And I really want everybody to motivate, try things out, because you can only discuss about these ethical questions if you try things out. If you say, no, it's dangerous, I don't want to have anything to do with it, you're not in a position to discuss it and to shape it. And I think as SIETAR, as the German the worldwide interculturalist community, we have to have a position. We have to influence this. And I just posted my LinkedIn profile and my website, and also the link to the speech to text in the chat. So you find everything there.
Question? Okay, go ahead, Ruth.
Just unmuted. Stephan, you're very impressive. Thanks so much for the input. How long have you been working on this AI thing in order to get to your level? I mean, I know you didn't do this in 1 week, just to give us an idea.
I mean, I had the advantage. I started with this when ChatGPT came out. So in the very same week, I got my account because I saw it on LinkedIn and I thought, oh, that's new, that's interesting. And I tried it. So I'm working with this now since, what is it, 1.5 years?
Okay.
Time flies. But I think you don't need to work on this for 1.5 years. But in order to understand ChatGPT, to understand Midjourney, you have to invest a few days. Yeah, and that's what I hear very often, that people said, yeah, I did 3-4 prompts, I didn't like it, and then I stopped it. Yeah, and the quality of ChatGPT Premium is a completely different dimension than ChatGPT, the free ChatGPT.
Okay, thank you.
So it's hard to say. Of course, it also depends how tech savvy you are. Some people get it very quick, but of course, I read a lot of newsletters. It's an investment. I thought in the beginning when I started this AI trainings, I thought I design a training and then I can sell it for the next year. That doesn't work at all. So I have every training is new. I mean, you saw the music here. This is just something which was released on the weekend. So yeah. And of course, you also have to select. I mean, I use a lot of different tools because I give these trainings. I mean, if you want to use it, of course, I would recommend to figure out what are the things which you want to do and then really get good at doing these things. Yeah, I mean, you don't have to explore all of this. I think music, for most of you, music will be useless. So then you could focus really on writing case studies with ChatGPT, but then you have to invest a few days. So I see Andrea raised her hand and Donna.
Yeah, Andrea.
Okay, thank you. Wow, I'm thrilled with what you presented. Congratulations on this. This is fabulous, and I'm sorry I came in late, but I had some heavy traffic. It's a very specific question, and I'm an early user, early applier, just as you, because I have a 25-year-old who, introduced it to me the day it came out as well. So I have been using it for a while, and it's a very specific question. So all the others, forgive me for asking, but I'm really interested. So I'm a university teacher of intercultural communication at a German University of Applied Sciences down in Karlsruhe, and we've undergone some changes in our study program. And actually what we're doing is that we have started introducing a huge case study that we actually simulate a company to give the students sort of some signposting and orientation throughout the whole program, right? So the people who do production management and marketing and everybody will use that very case study. And the question is, I'm hesitating to apply for the following use case, and I wonder whether ChatGPT is able to perform this, and we're not sure. And I'm not an IT person, right? I'm an interculturalist. So the idea is it has inspired a lot of faculty, right? So my colleague in taxation, my colleague in law, my colleague in maths, right? Everybody is actually, not everybody, but let's say the usual few people, or not few, some of us are inspired. And now I would like to apply for a research project to actually use ChatGPT to as a knowledge management tool. Do you think it's possible to train, because every one of us will create materials with it, and my fear is that the storytelling about it may if we don't keep track of what other people do, right? In my field, I won't necessarily look into what my statistics colleagues are doing, or that kind of stuff. So would if we use one same version, like a licensed version for the whole faculty, would the ChatGPT be able to actually have a coherent storyline, right? So if other people introduce new bits of the story, like my colleague in taxation says, for her, it's a requirement that the third generation husband of the CEO, who is female, needs to have done vocational training in Germany, because otherwise she can't use it for a use case in her lecture. Would that be possible?
I think ChatGPT, as far as I understand your problem, I think ChatGPT is not the right tool, because it would need to have access to your files somewhere. So you need a data management system. And here I think you need more professional solutions, because you also want to keep your data confidential. You don't want to upload everything to ChatGPT. And ChatGPT in the current version cannot access all the documents on your file. So maybe Gemini can be better if you have your files on Google Docs. If you want, we can look into this a little bit closer. If you contact me on LinkedIn, I'm happy to have a call with you to try to understand a little bit better which data do you have and where is it and how do you want to use it. But I would say spontaneous answer is ChatGPT is not the right tool for this.
Thank you so much. So let's talk.
There are tools, of course. I mean, companies are using this. Companies are using this to have a large language model, and then they have their encapsulated data, which never leave their company. And the tool works with the large language model to produce the language, and with the data, which is encapsulated and which is safe. And
but confidentiality is not an issue at all, because we're inventing it. It's a completely, it's a fictitious company. But let's talk indeed.
Contact me on LinkedIn. I think we are connected. Just contact me, and then let's have a talk and take this up.
And perhaps you're interested to join on that research.
Yeah, I'm always interested what people do, because I mean, we are all learners. I mean, nobody finished the AI game.
Yeah. Thank you.
We're all starters. Yeah, thank you. I think Donna was the next one.
Yeah, it was just a quick question, because I can see that the various AI applications can do a lot of things. I wondered if there's anything that can be used to help improve, like PowerPoint presentations, or make another form of presentations. Yeah, is there anything in that sphere?
Yeah, of course. This is what everybody wants. Everybody says designing PowerPoint presentations is a hassle, so there are a lot of tools. I would just say right now, they're all not good. I just checked some of these tools. I think one of the best ones is Dectopus. I checked a lot of these tools for a client because they wanted to do it, and the results are not good. The designs are random. You have to put a lot of effort then in fine-tuning most of it, even the Microsoft Copilot. It's a real disappointment. I mean, I'm paying now for this Microsoft Copilot $25 per month, because I thought, now you have AI in PowerPoint. Isn't that fantastic? The result is really ridiculous. Yeah, people are really complaining that they say, how can you ask for money for this? Yeah, it doesn't do anything. I mean, of course, you can ask ChatGPT, for example, to draft your slides, the text, and then you copy paste it. That's possible, but I would say, to my knowledge, all the tools which produce PowerPoint presentations it looks nice in the demos, but if you try it out, it simply doesn't work.
Okay, I guess one could also probably use Midjourney to generate some kind of graphics and things that you would like, and then...
Yes, that's what I do. I mean, as I said, all my images, also this image, everything, this is created by Midjourney. So that's what you can do. You can create this AI-generated images. And the fantastic thing is, if you use Midjourney, if you have an account, you also have access to all the creations of all the people who ever created something on Midjourney. So for $8 per month, you have access to the biggest creative stock photo database in the world. No,
that's very much worth knowing.
So I would say these $8 are are a good investment. And typically when I look for something, I first check, is there something on Midjourney already? And if it's not there, I create it. But you find, especially for people, I mean, you find whatever you want. Yeah, if you look for people, yeah, people created a lot of people already. So there's no
Yes.
need to create more Chinese, Brazilian, whatever people. It's all
Yeah.
there.
And I think that it's probably a good alternative to Canva, where you only have access to a few images and graphics, or you have to go over to the pro, and then anyway, everybody else is using the same ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, because they look like stock photos, yeah. And these Midjourney images, they don't look like stock photos if you do it right. And
Yeah.
you can really twist them. And if you say, hey, in my presentation, they should all be old because age is a topic, or I want to have more women, or I want to have people in wheelchairs, or whatever, you can create them. Yeah, this is super easy.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Mark had I think Mark was the next.
Yes, just have a question that I have run into issues with ChatGPT regarding students and using ChatGPT in assignments. And I'm sure there are lots of other people here who have run into similar issues.
Yeah.
And the particular university that I was working with didn't have an answer for me, really. I was wondering, have you any thoughts on that, just generally about how we should?
I work in Hamburg at the university. They also have no policy, which is really ridiculous. I mean, they don't even have a policy. They don't even say it's allowed or it's not allowed, and they still base their gradings on homework. Yeah, and I discuss it with my students. I just said, hey, there's no policy. If you want to do it with ChatGPT, you can do it with ChatGPT. I can just tell you, I tried it with ChatGPT, and it took me much longer than just writing the essay by myself. Yeah, because it's not so easy. But all these detectors don't work. So forget this. These detection systems, they are not reliable. And we had cases here, I think it was also at a German university, I don't remember which one. They denied an application of a student because they said the essay is too good. It must be ChatGPT written. And I think this is not, that's not the right way to do it. And I would also say it makes sense to encourage students to use AI because they have to get used to it. They have to get this competence. I completely understand that homework is maybe not the right format anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would also do this when I give them a homework. I also show them what I created with ChatGPT, and then we discuss about it. Yeah? And I say, okay, do you think this is useful? Is it good? Which grade would you give this homework? Do you think you can do it better? But Andrea had a remark, I think, to exactly this question, right?
Yes. So, as I said, I'm working in a German institution of higher education, and it may be legally different in your place, but I'm much in line with the position of Stephan, and I'm in the exact same situation. I base 80% of my grading on what we call portfolio assessment. Which means it's take home, and it's, you know, you use the time you want and the help you want. And I was a bit concerned about what that would mean for, you know, cheating, etc. But it actually, in this country, we found a very good way. I involved actually our first legal officer or chief legal officer or whatever you call that person in a university, and we developed a new declaration of authorship, which is very close to what they're doing at Oxford in the UK, right? So it's not just Germany. And it's actually quite interesting because with the new declaration of authorship that I'm quite willing to share in the chat box if you want, what happens is that we invert the burden of proof, right? So far, until now, when we had cases of paste and copy and other cheating by abundant use of neighbors, Google, or whoever, the burden of proof was with me, and I had to actually paste and copy and find the sources and, you know, actually make the case, demonstrate that less or more than a third of what was submitted was not the work of the student. But with the new declaration of authorship now, we're able to invert the burden of proof, which means that if I have sound reasons, or I don't know how you word that legally, but if I have, you know, sort of like, if I can make a case that that there are reasons to believe that the students didn't do it on their own, they have to prove that they didn't use AI, which is impossible, right? So we just fail them. And you just do that with, you know, 2 or 3 obvious cases every second year, and you're good, because then they stop trying. You know, you just really fail them, you know, and it's not just failing them and they have to resit, but you use the full, you know, array of whatever your university allows you to do. And then you're good for the next couple of years. And of course, before that, obviously I warn them, right? So I warn them from day one. I actually do encourage them to use it, but to use it cleverly. And to use it cleverly simply means they need to tell me for what purposes they use it, and that they need to recognize that the work they submit is thoughts of their own, and to take over full responsibility, including for copyright issues and intellectual property, what do you call this, infractions, etc. And then it gets legally quite interesting. So if you like me to, I can share the declaration in the chat box.
Some universities are bringing in oral exams much more. That's what I heard. So that would be a good way of following up and ensuring cementing understanding.
This is, of course, super time consuming. Yeah? And as I said, I mean, I would not say we block it completely. I would rather say also, if you use it in a smart way, if you use it for the right thing, of course you can get help. I mean, what I also realize, all the homeworks I get, the language is just better. Yeah, the grammar, the language is better. And then the question is, what is the difference to spelling function in Word? Yeah, where is the is it okay to enter your text in DeepL to get better grammar and better writing? And where does it then start to be not okay? Yeah. I think, does it somehow answer your question? I hope. It's not a satisfactory.
Yeah, there is no real answer as such yet.
Oh.
We're in the middle of this process, I think. But yes, it's certainly.
I think just avoiding it is not the right way. I mean, how do you want to prepare people for future business if you say you're not allowed to use AI? I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I would rather talk about it.
Yeah, and there was one of the situations was that they were media studies students. So in media studies, part of the criteria was they had to use AI. So as part of my courses, I had to teach how to prompt. So I had to quickly learn it to be able to teach it to the students to do the basics. And that was fine. And then, you know, there's supposed to be a minimum of 2 pages out of a 15-page assignment. But then they end up using the whole thing, all 15 pages. Some students, it felt for me like it was all because I know their level of English, for example, because I'm in Germany as well, and I know their level of English, and I talk to them, and there's definitely not there, and they're definitely not at that standard of that they submitted. Yeah, they're definitely not at that standard. So I don't know. It's just it's a tricky one we have to be careful of for the future.
Yeah. I think Elena had a question, if I saw it right, when you had your camera on. I'm not sure if you still had a question or yeah.
Yes, yeah. Right. Yes, thank you very much. So I can probably ask you a couple of things. Thank you very much. It was really very eye-opening and a lot of new things. Need some time to probably absorb, particularly for the people who are not technically advanced. And therefore I'm saying that probably something very simple and primitive for technically, let's say, a bit, you know, shy, I would say, people like me. You showed in your presentation, you were using actually artificial intelligence for this outline of your meeting. And actually, I thought it might be used, probably you advise something which is very simple, just in a few clicks, and people like me can probably use it to make, for example, something like, what is this? Sorry. I have to, you see, immediately my system for some reason wanted me to use German. I don't know why. What was the message I got? Yeah, please, would you like to be translated? I mean, okay. So is it possible to use it to make, for example, training proposals or short outlines, you know, like for authorities? I just bring some examples. We recently, with the colleagues of mine, made few applications, and we made without any artificial intelligence for Ministry of Education, for, you know, funding and programs, funding from, I think, European Union or something like that. I don't know, because I was just, you know, dealing with the content. And despite this content, we were told later by the people who are involved in this process was very valuable, and they thought content was really what they want. This bureaucracy and formality wasn't at this level. So probably something from artificial intelligence has to put, you know, let's say sexy, brilliant content, and to get it for bureaucracy in a way, how it is, like, you know, digestible.
That's what my meeting minute bot does. Yeah. So I just say, hey, I was in a meeting, I talked to a client, they asked me this, they said that, this was my idea, blah, blah. So I just keep talking. I keep talking for 5 minutes. It's completely unstructured. Yeah. Sometimes I forget something, I mention it later. And then I defined a format, and that's what you could also do for your application, to define a format and say, whatever I tell you, I just keep talking, all my confusing stuff, and you bring it into this format. And the other thing you can do, I mentioned this book project. So of course, I mean, those of you who have written a book or book chapter, you get tons of instruction of how to submit your proposal. Yeah, it's a nightmare. I mean, they send you all these documents, and I can tell you, I didn't even open it. Yeah, I just said ChatGPT, here's a document where they describe exactly how the format should look like. Do it for me. Yeah, here's my content. Please, you bring it into the right format. And I submitted it, and they accepted it without any question.
But which particular type you were using? You were using just this general one, or it's any kind of a...
In this case, I just use ChatGPT Premium, because there you can upload documents. So I just said I upload, I don't know, 2 PDF files or Word or whatever it was. I said, in this file, you find the instructions. This is my article. Please bring it in the right citation, whatever format. And it did it. As I said, I never opened these instructions. I didn't even look at it, because I said, I don't have the time for this.
But sorry, you need to produce for them kind of example, which type of this format it should be, yes? Or they are finding, maybe it's very silly to ask.
I mean, either you upload the instructions, because ChatGPT is able to understand the instructions. Yeah, if it says the headline has to be in bold and this or this typo, ChatGPT understands this and translates it into a format. Or you say, I have a format which I want to use. For example, for my meeting minutes, I have a defined format. So I just programmed my bot in a way that it always produces everything in this format. The same for my LinkedIn post. For my LinkedIn post, I said, first of all, I defined my style, yeah, my language, my style, my tone. And then I said, for every LinkedIn post, first, I want 5 versions of a headline, because I realized I never like the first version. I always want different versions. So I said, give me 5 versions for the headline. Then my post starts with 1 sentence as a hook to make people curious. The rest should be organized in bullet points with 1 emoji per bullet point. And then it should end with 1 sentence summary and a call to action. So I defined the format. And now I can just say, hey, I just had this fantastic webinar with more than 50 people, and we discussed about students and blah, blah, and this was my answer, and that was what I learned. And then ChatGPT will just produce a LinkedIn post in my format, and then I look, maybe I change a few things, and then it goes out.
But sorry, for example, if I have as well the chapter of the book, which was in my mind in very good format, because again, you know, the editorship, they provided for me quite a good idea how it should be. Actually, it will be very shortly, I think, in English as well. Now it's in Flemish for some reason. I don't speak Flemish, but you know, our publisher, yeah, they published in Flemish. It's the new book of happiness. So just, you know, maybe interesting for the other people when it will be once in English or even German or other languages. And the chapter there, in my mind, was quite well structured because I'm also personal. But can I just insert it? And they will do exactly.
Upload the chapter and say, this is a perfect example, and I want you to do my chapter exactly in the same tone, in the same language, in the same structure. I did it just with an agency. It's a coaching agency. And what they had a blog where they write every week an article, and they had 50 video interviews with different people. And they said, we would like to convert these videos into blog posts. And I said, that's easy. Upload it in ChatGPT, transcribe the video, and then take the transcript and say, here are my 3 or 4 or 5 best blog posts. Please use them as an example how I write my blog post, and then transform my video interview in a blog post exactly in this language. Yeah, and we tested it, took 3 minutes to transform a video interview in a blog post, and the owner of the agency said, actually, that's fantastic. I mean, that saves me 1 hour of time, because you have to listen to the video, you have to write everything, yeah. And she says, it's fantastic. Maybe I change a few words here and there, but it's exactly my writing. Yeah, she was amazed, because she said, that's exactly how I write my blog post. Same style, same language.
Yeah, it's actually a great thing.
So if you, that's really, if you give ChatGPT an example and say that's a good example, that's a good writing, please write it in a similar style, that works very, very well. It works, for example, for emails. Yeah, I mean, of course, we all like to hear our own tone. Yeah, and I have examples. You can find them on my webpage in these videos, where I took a request from a training from a DJ from Brooklyn. Yeah, in a very young DJ. He asked his question in a very special way, in a very special tone, and I just say, okay, reply to this message exactly in his tone of voice. And of course, ChatGPT is able to mimic this. You just have to give the content. Of course, all the answers to the question, that's something I had to give. So he asked, for example, what does it cost? So what is the damage to the wallet? So of course, I had to tell GPT what my cost is, and then it produces an answer which mirrors exactly the style of the person who writes the email to you. That's possible.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, it's. I'm sorry, just little proposal. Maybe later on, it's actually for Papa Valla probably one of the proposals. Sorry, I again, you know, impose a lot of stuff on your shoulders. Maybe we even have a workshop, you know, sometime, not just webinar, but you know, where we are forced to do something. You know what I mean? Because people like me. Maybe other people are smarter, but you know, I'm like listening, but I know when I go there, see scary, you know, stuff, very technical, I will just go in the corner and cry. But if we are forced, you know, to do home tasks or something, we might have like little workshop or something.
Absolutely. I mean, that's also what I do in my training. As I said, this webinar was just for inspiration. Yeah, because I didn't show you how to do it. I just show you what's possible. And in my trainings, and I'm more than happy to also do a training with SIETAR Europe. As I said, I do a training for SIETAR France. I did one for SIETAR Germany. In these trainings, then we would really actually do things and try it out, and really show how does it work. And because this was just the overview, and I'm super happy. I mean, we talked already about it. If we offer training sessions, we could do different for beginners, for advanced. So yes. Yeah, so don't be disappointed. I mean, that was not the expectation that you listen.
Of course, no, I understand that, but
you can do all this. That's impossible.
Sure, no. It's brilliant what we have gotten. Just, you know, like a bit scary for the people, as I'm saying. If you have technical cretinism like me, Because when I see all this very, you know, sophisticated stuff, I just give up. So good to have a
I
little.
can
like,
tell you, it's not a matter of age. I mean, I'm 56. I could still do it. Yeah. So if I can do it, everybody can do it. And I'm
Well-
not I'm a chemist by education. I spent my whole life in the cosmetic industry. I have nothing to do with IT. Yeah. It's not rocket science. Yeah. Of course, there are very, very sophisticated things like writing your own case studies with ChatGPT. This is really something where I would say that's not a beginner thing. But you saw in the beginning, I mean, just creating an introduction for your webinar or something, this is something you will learn in half an hour. I mean, that's super simple.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very
So
much.
focus on the simple things, and then you go to more sophisticated workflows. And of course, it can get super sophisticated. Yeah. I just wrote a bot for, I guess most of you know this brainwriting method, this 5-4-3 method, where everybody creates 3 ideas and then you pass it on. So I created a bot. I put in the question, then the bot suggests personas who would participate in my workshop. I would select 5 of these personas and say, these would be people I would love to have in my workshop. And then they create in 4 rounds, they create ideas, they pass the ideas virtually to the next person. And in the end, you have your 45 ideas. Yeah, this is possible, but this is really something where you have to spend a weekend. And also this Topoi GPT we are just programming, this really requires some effort and some knowledge and some oversight and yeah.
Because sorry, maybe other people experience the same. You know, normally those training sessions, I attend a few from university, whatever. There are like, you know, those IT boys with ponytails, you know, jumping on the stage, showing this, that, you know, everything is very like sort of, you know,
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Impressive, yeah, but you cannot follow. You really sort of give up at a certain stage because they are very much into subject that is too professional.
In my trainings, I would always work with use cases, because you don't want to understand what machine learning is and large language model and all this stuff.
No. Just very basic, very basic.
I train as much as you need to understand it, because I think it's what I mentioned. It's important. It's not a search engine. It's important to understand. It's just guessing the next word. That's important to understand. Also important, it's not a program. It's not Excel. It's not PowerPoint. These are the things you should understand. And also for bias, you need a certain understanding to understand where does it come from, because you need this to understand how can I fight it. But the main part is really use cases. Say, hey, this is how to generate a quiz. This is how to generate a case study. This is how to write an email. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. Stephan Ruppert. I think we are landing to more than 1 hour, 45 minutes. I think it's very enough. The webinar was very insightful and inspirational. I love as well the passion, because you're doing with passion. Before we head out, I just want to first of all thankful to Dr. Stephan from SIETAR Europa, as well SIETAR Canada, BC, and SIETAR Switzerland, to say to Elena on 29th of April, we'll have another session with Dr. Stephan Ruppert, as well SIETAR Switzerland. We will invite you to join this session. Thank you so much to all of you, and we hope to see you.
There will be big overlap. Yeah.
Do you want to add something, Dr. Stephan?
No, I just wanted to say that the webinar for SIETAR Switzerland, there will be a huge overlap to what we discussed today. So
it will be in English, yes.
It will also be in English.
In English, yeah, sure.
But the biggest part will be the same as today. So
yeah. Okay. And then thank you so much to all of you, and see you on 29th of April. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you both, and bye. Thrilling, great work, great inspiration. I'm really, really happy. See you again. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Stephan, can you stop the recording?
Ah, okay. I have to stop the recording. Where is it? Aufzeichnung stoppen.